Hello there, it's Keith Hayden, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Novelist Podcast. If you're interested in getting a novel started and you don't really know where to begin and you want some inspiration, here is my website, keithhayden.net, and there you'll find something really cool, a way to get a novel outline in 60 seconds. It sounds unbelievable, but it's true. Just answer 4 questions and you'll be on your way to starting your story today. Today is day, I didn't even look at what day this is. It's day 150 something. I can't. I have to count the weeks from the beginning now, because it's been about 6 months that I started working on this novel pretty much every day. This is my supernatural horror novel, Gates of Okinawa. And I realized I hit a point in the project today where I'm no longer cleaning up those early chapters that I used the AI on. I've made it past those. I've rewritten those. And I'm really on to the part of the first draft where I really hit my stride in the writing. And if you've ever written a novel before or long-form fiction, you know when that part comes. All of a sudden you've got clarity around the direction of your story, how you're going to tell it, what you want your characters to do, and it's just a matter of mechanics. It's just a matter of showing up and getting it down on the page. And I'm seeing that today's chapter was a lot more solid, but I spent the majority of today beefing it up and using a brand new tool that I want to talk about today, which is I created a new GPT. And if you're not familiar with what a GPT is, of course, you've probably heard of ChatGPT. GPTs are customized versions of ChatGPT that allow you to basically do very specific things with it. So ChatGPT is very general, and you can say, well, I want this GPT to just do X, Y. And that's it. That's all it's good at. Today I decided to create a supernatural horror GPT, which I can't for the life of me think of why I didn't do this earlier, but I decided to create one. It was really easy to make, and I fed it the chapter. I finished the chapter, and I decided to just hand it to it and see what type of suggestions it could give me, ways to make it better, make it clearer, that type of thing. And holy shit, the output from the Supernatural Horror GPT was like that of a skilled editor that is very skilled in this particular genre, because it gave me some ways to enhance the atmosphere, to make it that much more just stick under your skin type of creepy, instead of just kind of cartoonish and overtly like kind of jump scares that kind of really like digging under the surface of your skin. Because this chapter is important because we see the emergence of the main villain in Gates of Okinawa. Up to this point, he's only been teased, and people have seen kind of his shadow. They've kind of felt his influence, but now we see him stepping out in physical form, and one of the characters is encountering him for the first time. And I mean, how would you feel if you met, 8-foot plus hulking demon who's clothed in soaking rags from the sea, and it's just got a face black as night, that type of deal? You'd be pretty fucking freaked out, even if you were a fan of the occult. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to convey in this scene, this kind of unsettling encounter that the character kind of gets her wish. She's always believed in the occult, and she believes in something. She's reaching for something outside of humanity, because that's one of her big driving forces at the end of the day, is she basically has given up hope on us, that we can solve our own problems, and we need to look beyond to deal with that, to address them. And so she turns to the occult. And that's what she finds when it finally comes out. So in this chapter, I wanted to really get that in, and this tool was amazing. I went through it, and it was pretty cool. I might maybe I'll make a link to it in the show notes of this podcast episode, but it really speaks to however you do it, whether you use AI or whether you get a second pair of eyes, someone who's a fan of horror or whatever, or you have a professional editor. It speaks to really just getting a second opinion on your story. Because what you initially write down and put out, even though this is basically the second draft of this particular chapter, is it as good as it can be? And that's what I'm finding more and more that I like about the AI, is that properly trained and properly aligned, it can really be that second set of eyes in a way that it would be pretty difficult for an actual human reader. A human reader to just get to this point in the novel. This is chapter 29, so we're getting close to the halfway point of the story. So you'd have to read all the way up until then. You'd have to be particularly interested in horror, this type of horror that I'm writing, which is not standard at all because I'm including stuff about Japanese folklore and the Japanese language is in there. So it's really kind of a very, very specialized type of person that would be required to not only stomach this, like be able to consume it, but then also be able to provide actionable feedback that's helpful for me. So that's where the AI steps in. And that's where it's extremely helpful to be able to create this thing. So if you happen to be writing supernatural horror, you probably aren't, but if you happen to, and you want to test it out, maybe I'll put the link in this episode and you can try it out. Let's see what else is in this chapter that I liked. There's just some really good descriptions that I wrote pre-AI, kind of mixed with the AI, but one of the things that I included in this that I really enjoy is I included kind of a picture of the character's hometown, and I made her from a place that I have a friend that lives down in Brazil. Shout out to Gabe. He lives in a town and closer to central Brazil, and I wanted to include that in there. Just like, I love including cultural aspects. Just being a really student of foreign languages, including cultural aspects in my characters and really including their language and their background and their traditions and how it shapes their outlook. Because to whitewash every character and make them just kind of vanilla, I don't like doing that. I really like character to show up as people show up in the world, which we have these, even if you grew up in the middle of America, you still kind of have this culture, even if it's American culture, but you have something that grounds you. And so I wanted to include that in here. There's some Brazilian Portuguese in there. There's just a flash. I love the picture that I was able to put in there about mid-chapter of her kind of getting a flash of her hometown and what she's missing from there. And she misses it, but then at the same time, how she wants to move forward and do something different with her life and her contribution to the world through working with this demon. That's going to do it for this very brief, quick episode of the Digital Novelist Podcast. If you are working on your novel and you want to get started, like I said at the beginning of this episode, head over to keithhayden.net. You can check out that instant novel outline there. I've also got the Digital Novelist Explorer Kit, where you can get tips and you can get just a lot of resources that I've used to become a better novelist and more efficient, things like that. And then also, you've got the Gates of Okinawa / Digital Novelist Starter Kit Deluxe Package, which will include all of these behind the scenes videos, audio recordings, images, music that I've created for this project so far. We're 6 months in. I don't think we're going to be out by Halloween, but that's all right. That's all right. We're moving along, pretty much sticking to the plan, a chapter a day on most working days, and just showing up and getting better and better as I improve as a novelist and using these tools to make my writing better. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening. See you next time.